The Norway-Sweden border is a 1,630 km-long land national border, and the longest border for both Norway and Sweden. History. The border was changed several times because of war. Before 1645, Jämtland, Härjedalen, Idre, Sana Parish, and Bohuslän belonged to Norway. The border changes were defined in the Treaty of Bromsebro, the Treaty of Roskilde, and the Treaty of Copenhagen. In 1751 a treaty was signed in Stromstad, defining the border based on field investigations and negotiations done 1738 to 1751. The border was based on knowledge among local people, mainly which farm belonged to which parish and which parish to which diocese. In the unpopulated mountains, the border mainly followed the water divide. There were disagreements on the parishes of Sana, Idre, Lien, Kautokino and Karasjok, which had to be solved by give and take. Based on that, in 1752 to 1765 border cairns were erected between Norway and Sweden, including Finland, which mostly remain today. After the Treaty of Kiel and the Convention of Moss, the union between Sweden and Norway was established, and the Norway-Sweden border became a border between two union partners. In the negotiations in Karlstad which led up to the dissolution of the Union in 1905, Norway was obliged to tear down several fortresses along the border. Geography. Most of the border follows the drainage divide in the Scandinavian mountains. In Norway, the border lies along the counties, from south to north, of Østfold, Akershus, Hedmark, Sør-Trøndelag, Nord-Trøndelag, Nordland and Troms. In Sweden, the border lies along the counties, from south to north, of Västra Götaland, Värmland, Dalarna, Jämtland, Västerbotten and Norrbotten. The northernmost border point is Treriksröset, which is also a border to Finland. During World War II, when Norway was occupied by Germany and Sweden was neutral, many Norwegians became refugees and were transported or fled over the border. The regulation of Norwegian immigrants was strict between 1940 and 1941. Several would-be refugees were declined. Control. Both countries are members of the Schengen area, and there are therefore no immigration controls. However, only Sweden is part of the European Union, so there are customs checks. These are performed by the Norwegian Customs and Excise authorities and the Swedish Customs Service. These checks are sporadic along the Norway-Sweden border. Cars are usually not forced to stop. Both countries emphasize checks against other countries. For flights and ferries between the countries, there are no formal passport checks at airport and ferry ports, but identity cards are needed to board. Before 2001, the countries were not part of the Schengen area. There was even then no passport check. Passengers were led to the passport control at international airports, but could pass simply by showing the ticket and/or speaking and looking Scandinavian. There were more road customs stations then. Some have been closed for cost reasons. Road border crossings. There are customs control stations at the following places. For most border crossings there is one customs station on one side of the border, but for some on both sides, one for each direction. A treaty gives the customs officers of one country the right to carry out clearance and checks for both countries. There are many more roads crossing the border without customs station, but they are not allowed to use if having goods needing declaration, and never for heavy trucks. They are surveilled by video and temporary checks. Railway border crossings. There are 4 railway crossings. All 4 both serve passenger and freight trains. All border stations except Kornsho station are located in Sweden. Riksrosen. Stone cairns, known as the Riksrosen, mark many parts of the border. biological exchange. Animals, notably wolves and brown bear, have been known to wander across the border, reflecting the fact that the population is shared. A Norwegian-Swedish research project named Skandalv was founded in 2000, and is administered by the Norwegian Institute for Nature Research, Hedmark University College and the Swedish University of Agricultural Sciences.